Hello, everyone. I am Zishan Pathan, Director of Client Services with RightSource Global and a Council member of Global Thought Leaders. I welcome you all to the Spotlight series of Global Thought Leaders, an initiative by RightSource Global. To make the conversation more engaging, I have my colleague, friend, and a Council member of Global Thought Leaders, Heval Mehta, the Chief Growth Officer with RightSource Global. Global Thought Leaders is a platform for industry stalwarts to share their experiences, thoughts, ideas, and best practices to inspire future leaders. Through spotlight interviews, we strive to bring the community of eminent personalities together across the globe. So we bring the expertise of various functions, roles, and sectors together on one platform to inspire future leaders. We have one such industry stalwart today on the spotlight with us, Lalitha Giridhar. She is a great friend and an inspiring personality. I would request Havel to introduce our today's eminent personality, who is a renowned face in cutting edge technology industry. Over to you, Havel.
Well, thank you so much, Zishan, for giving me this opportunity to introduce Lalita. It's always an honor. I'll talk a little bit about Lalita because I would love to hear more from her. So, to my knowledge, what I know, Lalita is a triple postgraduate, and she holds certification in advanced communication and leadership, organization development coaching, and emotional intelligence. She is part of CII HR Excellence panel as a senior assessor, part of FICCI, Tamil Nadu HR committee. Lalita believes that the age of HR has moved from being a support function, an enabling function, into a business driving function. Now, rightly said that in our Spotlight series, we learn a lot from our inspiring leader who comes and talks about the journey, the success journey. Yes, let's learn something new today from one of our good friends. She's really kind hearted, down to earth, I would say, Lalitha Giridhar. Over to you, Z.
Yeah. So Lalita has been an inspiration for many, right? So, what are the key highlights, Lalita, of your journey from the beginning of your career till the current role of Global VPHR for Future Focus Infotech?
Z and Havel, thank you for this opportunity. Great being part of this forum spotlight. And I feel very humble that I've also been selected as a global leader to express my views. Okay, with that, let me begin. Go to your question. Yes, my career highlights. I think it's very funny when I tell you that I started as a telephone operator and a front office receptionist. And what did I learn in those first 2 or 3 years of my life was making first impressions is most important. And it is service, which is going to be the dominant factor for any business. And smiles win more hearts and more business than anything else. So this was a polite hello and being kind to people who had stress due to various factors, but that element of human quotient, I think I learned in my first 3 years of the career. Was lucky to have a very good boss, I would say, who was a Harvard educated industrialist in the shipping industry. So he taught me the nuances of communication, and he gave me an opportunity to be part of the US embassy programs and stuff like that. And I was hardly 21 or 22 years. So the canvas, what this world has to offer, I got a view of it during those early years. So I learned that there's much more to, education than in the school or a college. It is a real world out there. So that probably was the first learning that happened. Subsequently, I moved on to become a lecturer in commerce for a couple of years or 3, 4 years in Hyderabad, teaching in a women's college. Again, teaching is per se, I think, a task of being with people, being with youngsters, and mingling with them, making them learn. How do you make an individual learn? It is all about putting the right factors in and packaging. I learned the art of packaging probably as a lecturer rather than anything else. You have a subject, it can be interesting, it can be boring. How can you make it? What's in it for me was very important for the students. So that sort of a connect happened because of my professional experience previous to the teaching experience. From there, I went on to be an entrepreneur, developing some properties on my own here in Chennai. That was a very short stint, but very interesting stint. I learned that, wow, if you know how to communicate and if you are a people's person, you can convince anybody without any local study. You're not a brand. You do not have any big name. All you have is a property in the middle of the city which you want to convert or make some money for your family. And here I was sitting in a very old, dilapidated house and trying to tell people, believe in us. We have something good for you. And what we are going to do is, whatever we're going to build for ourselves, we're going to offer to you. Who should believe this person who is not even 30, at that point in time, and who is talking from a dilapidated house, doesn't have a brand? But I realize if you speak from the heart and if you speak the truth, and if you have the conviction that you can deliver, that was something I learned in those 2 3 years. It is your conviction that you can deliver that is going to make the mark. From there on, once the work was done, my people did not need me anymore. So I thought, why not? During the course, I was able to complete my post graduations also, which equipped me to be in the HR field. Then started this pre in HR, maybe back in 99 or 98. I went into the HR arena. Funnily enough, I started as an HR manager. I was not an executive or senior executive. So started as an HR manager. It was a very small medical transcription unit, a BPO. We had 5-member team. It was a group of entrepreneurs. They felt that somewhere my entrepreneurial and all the collective experience gave me the edge to, convince people to be part of the organization, do the learning programs for them and other stuff. Together, we built an organization of 100 plus people, about 3 years there. And then on, I realized that I could offer something more and joined Focus Infotech. There I became a delivery manager, which is a recruitment manager. So I started in business. It's an IT recruitment company per se with a software development center. And now it is moved on to various products, geographies. Back then in 2004-5, it was a unit and I became part of that unit. So from business, I learned the nuances of business HR and what it is to, move ahead. In between, I took a short break from my full-time service and then did a lot of competency assessments and mapping and, all the leadership certifications and other stuff. All those certifications were done just to, sometime I had the time to do something. And sometimes I felt there is something more that has to be, acquired as a knowledge. For me, learning was the only constant, I think, in this entire journey. Then back to Focus Infotech, because of the additional qualifications and certifications, they found that a delivery manager who was probably in a level, you could say 4 or 5 levels below, could be taken as the HR head of the organization. So from there, I think this decade I've been again with Focus Infotech as the HR head and connecting with various organizations as part of the CII HR assessment panel. It has been learning, learning, and learning. If anything, I would say the only key to my being here today, talking to you also, as you know, Z, is learning. The connect was learning. So that has been the key highlight of my journey till now. I hope it answers your question.
I would say that was an amazing journey, Lalita. In fact, you have spent huge amount of time in HR, right? So just wanted to know what are the key changes you brought into your function to make it more efficient and effective, especially when you're working in a cutting edge technology domain.
See, the fundamentally, had I been what is traditional HR who has come from the either the manufacturing industry or labor industrial relations and grown up the ladder, just doing the things that are there in HR, my thinking would have been different. What I did not know, ignorance was the best tool, and that gave me a lot of confidence. So I did not realize that HR has to be a support function. So I was always connecting with the business leaders, finding out how the business operates. What do they need? So it was more to understand what I can do as a service rather than being an HR who's going to do all the mundane. You have an engagement calendar, you have a training calendar, you do your competence structuring. So my thinking was more to do with aligning with the business and being the business partner. So that is one change I brought into my own organization. They did not understand why this HR lady is coming and sitting in the business meetings. Why is she taking so much more notes than anybody else there? And what does she understand about the technology? We are talking about, making products. We are talking about the automation. We are talking about doing several things. And we are talking about large, huge clients who are in our database. Why she's so involved? But all that helped me recruit better because I knew what the teams wanted. It also helped me plan the training calendar better because I knew what should be given as training for their upskilling or reskilling. Reskilling and upskilling, see, for me, is the key change that I brought into the organization. Continuous, I do not think what you know today. Last year, if you asked me, not last year, maybe a year before that, how to be on Zoom, maybe I wouldn't have known because there was no requirement for that. Today, I'm quite apt, though there are some hitches here now and then. So that is where you got to keep upskilling yourself. This is something which came as a practice and a culture into the organization, and I can humbly say that I contributed towards that thinking. So that is the change I brought in into the thinking of the HR professionals within my team. And also in any forums that I go to, I keep telling HR is not about just doing your job of recruiting. Find out where the mapping is. At each and every stage, map it, connect the dots, then your results are better. That's it. See.
Great, great. I would say a lot of transformations brought in into the function itself, right? So, Lalita, you would see that the senior HR professionals have a very important role to play to build a resilient workforce. What is your take on that?
Very seriously, yes. Senior HR professionals are going to be the game changers, are already changing the game. Recently, I think last week, we had one of those FICCI and CI meetings wherein I mean, I wouldn't want to go and quote anybody, but they were saying, where were the CEOs and COOs this past year? Everywhere it is the HR who's standing in the forefront and giving everybody the strength, saying, come on, yeah, we can do it. We are bringing that energy to the front, right? So HR professionals is not about being a support function. Like I told Havel, and Havel also quoted me here, HR is not a support function, it's a driving function. So, first of all, I would request everybody who wants to come into this field, do not think I can comfortably relax being an HR. A HR is a person who should never relax. You have the pulse of the organization. Anything can go wrong anytime. It can be a system failure, it can be a mental failure of a very senior leader due to any reason. Yeah, everything you should have the plan B. Whatever be it, systems can be replaced. If this laptop goes, I can get a new laptop. But when a human element, you know, moves away from the path that they should be in, or is not given the opportunity to actually go out of the box and contribute something to the organization. Many a time we find that there are these millennials and the younger generation who have so much in them. Respect them, you learn from them. Senior HR professionals, I think, would be the key to bring in all these younger generations up. Take their out of box ideas, give it context. Too many ideas, but execution is a difficulty. We can play a major role in this execution. That is where we as HR professionals will contribute, and that is the resilience that the business heads are also looking from us. That's what I would say.
Wow, great thoughts on that, Lalita. Well, a very relevant question these days. People's strategy, in fact, is given much of an importance during this COVID period. So, Lalita, what are the key people strategies during this COVID period have helped the organizations to grow, and especially you and your organizations to grow?
First was all those organizations who went into automating HR succeeded.
Great.
The paperwork thing. If you still believed in paper signing, we were in trouble. Lucky for us, we were not into paper signing. And we found that because it was an in-house developed tool, we could use that as a tool to generate any communication that had to be sent to anybody, including visa applications, including moving everything. The world was not stopping. Despite the pandemic, despite the lockdown, you and I are having a conversation together, and my calendar looks like I have something after and something before. So how do we just keep moving forward? So one was the automation, wherein we understood paper was not very important, and it became very easy. We did not respect our technology, but we learned to respect that. Number two was physical oneness does not matter, but the mental oneness does matter a lot. Meaning teams have to stay connected, not for the sake of saying, let's have tea together or coffee together, but saying that, hey, we're all there for you. If there is going to be an difficulty in your household, either because you're not okay or your family is not okay, it's okay. We will take over your tasks. So that sort of an oneness was built, and we encourage that oneness by giving or appreciating people in various methods. It's not about a bonus, it's not about an incentive. It's about that timely appreciation which matters. So building that culture was so very important in this pandemic, and that worked very well for us, I would say. And in addition, continuous learning programs, thanks to LinkedIn and other programs were just coming. There were a lot of free programs also, and we gamified the whole thing, saying that, dividing them into groups and divisions and saying, come on, yeah, this group has done so many hours, how many have you done? They have completed so many blogs, how many have you done? And then bringing people on to the stage like this on these online platforms, making them do sessions on what they have learned. This raised communication, confidence, team bonding more than maybe if we would have worked from an office. So pandemic per se has been a blessing in disguise, but for the negative element of sickness and losing close ones, the positive side to it is people knew that they can work from anywhere. And it is the mind that matters rather than anything else. And your mental fitness is the key for the total success. I think that is the learning from the pandemic. See.
Great, great. So, Lalita, a lot has changed in HR function altogether. Do you think, going forward, the hierarchical structure and the traditional designations would change? Do you think that the designations will undergo a sea change along with the accountabilities attached to them?
Definitely. I think as one more change that came in this 1 year, which I noticed is many of us were running activity based business.
Right.
Like a manager, he had to see that they come on time, be in their seats. Everybody is busy, 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 busy. But this pandemic taught us it is not activity, it is your deliverable, right? When there is a deliverable that has been defined, why do you need a manager? You don't need anybody to oversee what you're doing, right? If I'm going to say that I'm not going to be available, say for the slot I'm doing with you, all I've got to say is my calendar is blocked, right? And I'm responsible to complete my deliverable at the end of the day. This is not only for the business functions, this became the norm for all the other functions also. Now traditionally we have step by step, one an executive, a team leader, then a senior team leader, then a manager. Why? To do the same amount of work. Today we do costing, I think, per unit. So to get an output, what are the inputs that are going into it? So is it input one, or do you need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in various levels of hierarchy? So if 1 plus 1 is coming, what is that plus 1 which is coming as output? So when we talk about this input output business, I don't know if I'm making any sense here, but if we talk about input and output, traditional managers who were there only as overseers, who were there as administrative people, who were there, to generally look good in that environment with that title, they've all disappeared. They have to, if they have not yet disappeared, it's time for them to relook within and start redefining their own roles, right? So even today, if I am there as the VP of the organization, I have certain deliverables on my desk alone. I'm not here to foresee somebody else's work, right? So this has become the norm. So I need not be at hierarchically. I'm flat. My team member has given me a task. I have to complete it. I have to give it back to her. Otherwise, I would be questioned. Then there is some other person in the sales, and whatever be their title, they've asked me to complete something. It is my duty to complete it. That is how the manager or the leader starts contributing more. They start aligning themselves to the team members and start giving more to the team members, not in terms of gyan, like our old system. This is how we have to be. In 1964, this is what I did. So all that is over. That it has completely gone. So the traditional structure, as we call it, is getting flatter and flatter. It is about what you bring to the table. At the end of the day, what do you bring to the table? So if you are going to bring value to the table, then you sit on the table. Otherwise, today I notice you may be the senior most guy in the organization. If in a meeting they don't bring value, they're not in the meeting. So do you want to be redundant or do you want to be relevant? That's a question we traditional managers have to ask us. And probably that is the fire that keeps me learning also, to stay relevant in this ever-evolving world, I would say. And the younger generation, they're too smart, again and again, to be seen as relevant to them, to communicate, to get the best out of them. They have the view, but they don't have the path. So be that path giver. So what value you bring to the table, that's what it is.
Great. I really agree to that point, Lalitha. Outcome is something that we are looking at, and anybody in any organization would look at outcomes majorly, I would say. And you have mentioned a lot about learning in the past conversation as well. And I know you as a person, so you are a continuous learner. And recently, you have successfully completed your corporate governance certification as well. So, what recommendations would you give to the future thought leaders regarding learning new avenues?
Learning, as I said, is the only constant in this ever evolving world that we are in, right? So, learning is not about getting certifications. Certification is again only a byproduct. Enjoy the journey of learning and do not do courses. I see many people, even in this pandemic, just because they are free, they did so many certifications, Python, something and all. So, what are you going to do about it with it? I have no idea. I just did the certification. So, this is not only for seniors, even youngsters who think learning is all about accumulating certifications. No, dear friends, it is not about that. It is more to do with what is it going to give you as a result of that learning. So if I did an post graduation in commerce, I didn't think I was going to be a lecturer. When I did an MBA in HR, I didn't ever think that I would be heading an organization's HR function. And now when I did the recent certification, I went back to my college days because the governance papers was all about a lot of those subjects which I did. I mean, first post-graduation was in commerce. So it was also interesting. So enjoy the journey of learning and understand the concepts, and then you can apply it. The concept understanding is the key to any learning. And if you do not build too many big certifications or jargons, it is people behavior that is going to determine the success of anything. And people behavior and the requisite skills. If you have the skills, enhance your behavior and then build on that. And then organizations require those people who can think logically, reasoning, and other aspects are also there. Don't think that learning is all about the technology part of it or big number part of it, which is going to be difficult. It all boils down to common sense. Any subject you study, be it science or arts or anything, there is one common sense feature to it. Find that common sense thread, then start weaving it forward. And then you will see that some learning which you did without any purpose, you very funnily, I don't know if I share the story with you. I did a postgrad in psychology because one of my friends wanted company to do that program. She just came and gave me the application and said, you do your psychology because I cannot study alone. This was in 2010. Not like I was, yeah, 41, 42. Yes. So you can imagine I did that because to give a company, but I enjoyed the journey. And today I understand HR is all about psychology. I'm able to bring out theories. I'm able to connect theories because I enjoy the process of learning, not because I did psychology to become a better HR. So enjoy the process of learning because it's the only constant. And there will be youngsters. My son today comes and tells me, technology, you don't know anything, find it yourself. And finding it ourselves is the biggest kick that I get. So learning is always done for us to stay relevant and to contribute and to make intelligent conversations also. So learn with a purpose and enjoy the journey of learning. That's what I would say.
Amazing, Lalita. In fact, I myself is a voracious reader, and we interacted multiple times regarding various things in past as well, right? So great. Lalita, the aspire future thought leaders would like to learn from the mistakes, right? So can you share some mistakes that future thought leaders must avoid aligning their goals better?
If you think you're good, you're dead. I would quote that. Anybody at any point in time, if they enter into a conversation or enter into a problem solving, thinking they know the answer, it is wrong. So listening is the a forgotten art, I would say. Listening is not about the words that come out, but also the nuances or what it conveys. So one pitfall which I had, it's from personal experiences. I thought I knew, then it was not what I knew. But you have to, it is okay to make that mistake, but no to backtrack and say that, oh my God, I thought it was this. I made a mistake. I'm sorry. Let's begin again. Let's begin again. So, have one is, as I said, do not go into anything thinking that you know. Second is learn to listen, right? And listen to learn, right? So, the third is if you know that you have made a mistake, it's okay to say sorry. It's okay to backtrack. Please leave your ego out of the, when you enter into an office space. Now, today, when you sit in front of the laptop, also, the ego is something which comes in. I'm an EQ coach, Zishan. So, all this would be, coming out predominantly in my conversations. But these are the fundamentals. Many a time, even in today's Indian politics, if you see everywhere, it is the ego that is spoiling a whole lot of things, right? We are not able to address the real problems because of the various ego components that comes into play. So leave the ego out and concentrate on what is to be done. Go there to be open, go there to be to listen. And I would always advocate that before, in the olden times, have a pen and paper, because listening is very difficult. If you make notes, you automatically start listening. If you're on a thing, start keying it, so you keep listening. And if your body language and if your mind indicates that you're there for the other person, it solves the problems. So I think I'm diverting a little, but I'll come back to your question, which says the mistakes. The mistakes we make is we think we know, we do not listen. All these I'm not saying is others make it. I have made these mistakes. So I'm talking to you from my personal experience. So listening is something which I learned the hard way. Being emotionally resilient and not letting your ego come to the forefront, even when you know that the other person is wrong. Knowing when to talk and when to stay shut probably is something which we have to know. And then, as I told you, humility is an art. And do not ever assume that you are the master of the show. You're just there as an actor, a player, and the characters will reveal themselves in time. Have the patience. So these are the common mistakes that we do. We don't have patience. We don't have time. Everything is fit into slots, and we want to complete it within the time slot. It doesn't work that way. So these are the mistakes that I made and I learned. I don't know if it's going to be relevant, but that's it.
And I'm sure that everybody would learn from this conversation, Lalitha. Um, so, what do you think about this initiative that we have taken for creating this community where we can disseminate these ideas and visions and the best practices from the leaders?
Great initiative. Actually, I think your questions make me think about things I would probably not even think about. See, like the mistakes you asked me. So it is not only about what you're doing for a larger group, it is even we who are called as a guest to your spotlight. I think we discover ourselves, or we go back to our roots and understand our strengths and what has happened. So it is a win-win, is what I would say. And everyone has something to give to the others, and it's a collective group. It is like crowdsourcing, and in various forms. Here you're crowdsourcing the best of leadership practices. I hope I also gave some of them, but invariably it is the practices which is going to be the future, and you are actually cataloging it, or you're creating the library of all this. And it would probably be very good for us also to go look back and say, hey, I have a problem, that yeah, this person is in this industry, why don't I connect and ask them? So you're creating that network of people who can connect with each other when they face issues, and they can talk to each other. And today when we see your program, we know we have Z and Havel as a common thread, so we can connect and we can learn from each other. And the younger generations who are looking for some sort of a ready reckoner have all of us here, right, to give value to them. And I think you should also have not only gray haired people like me, you should have a lot of youngsters also into this group, making them contribute the, their success stories and their steps that they have taken, so that it becomes even more lively. That is what I would say. Great platform, keep doing it, don't stop. That's
Thank you so much,
In fact,
Lalitha.
I would say it motivates us at times. And in my 19 years career, I would say, Lalita, I have learned one word, and that is in my school, in my college, in my universities, in my professions, in the interviews that I have conducted. That is learning, right? But after listening to this conversation, speaking with you today, uh, it just clicked my mind that learning is not just a word, but it can create an impact. The way you learn. Someone who says that I know everything, I guess his career or his life ends, rightly what you mentioned. But someone who is open to learn, or if someone comes with something, let's discuss. If that's the approach, things flatten over there. So thank you so much, Lalitha, for giving us a valuable spotlight on this word called learning. I guess that would be a pick for today. Learning is really, really important for all the future leaders, I would say. And yes, the conversation that we had was not only something really amazing, but yes, a knowledge flood, I would say, that we have gone through today and learned a lot, Lalita. So thank you so much for giving us this valuable insights, information, and your journey really inspires a lot many who will be watching this video in future as well. And to us, obviously, we met in past multiple times, but yes, it's still going to be an ongoing learning for us.
great pleasure always to connect with both of you, and thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lalita.